Might as well say what you gotta say before you're dead.
And I encourage you to watch it once, twice, 3 times. I love when politics is big, 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 big.
Let me tell you something. You all think we stupid, you know.
If you take offense to it personally, that's your business. And it's the number one show in the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Citizens Review. I'm Aaron Ferguson, your host, and I'm sitting here with the lovely Pamela Poitier, the daughter of Bahamian legend Sir Sidney Poitier. And we're here on Citizens Review this week to talk about a topic that's very important to me and certainly dear to the heart of Pamela Poitier, and it's the arts. And the reason why Ms. Poitier is here is because I think that all Bahamian children who are out there fighting for an opportunity to be artists need to see that there are chances where persons who have been trained with the best of the best, who have been exposed to the best of the best, are willing to come home, be in the Bahamas. Ms. Poitier lives in Cat Island, of all places.
Love my Cat Island.
The bedrock and the home of the Poitier family. And so, Pam, without further ado, welcome to Citizens Review.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, and so that you know, with all full disclosure, Pam is my breath of fresh air. Every time she comes to Nassau, she says something that I don't know where she's getting it from, but it is exactly what I need to hear. And so I always feel good in the presence of Pam Poitier.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Very great.
So you're doing, well, give us a little background. Sidney Poitier is your father.
Yes, he is.
You look just like him.
I do. I do.
Your father, you grew up in the household of a person we refer to as a legend. What was that like?
It was fascinating. It was kind of bohemian and Bahamian in a lot of ways.
Okay.
A lot of artists were always around the house. Paul Robeson, Harry Belafonte, Ivan Dixon, Charles White, the painter. It goes on and on. The list just keeps going. And there was always great discussions, which I always loved because I would sit in a corner somewhere and just listen.
This is in Harlem, New York.
This was in Mount Vernon because we moved to from Harlem, where I was born, to Mount Vernon when I was about 4 or 5.
Okay.
And I used to sneak into the living room and listen to the conversations because I was fascinated with what they were talking about. They were talking about race. They're talking about the equality of the human race. And they're blacks and they're whites all in the same conversation and all sharing what they felt and passionately. So it was really a great household. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. It was a great household to grow up in because I learned a lot firsthand about a lot of these legends.
And you saw them speak, you heard them express in the confines of privacy.
Yes. And they babysat us.
Okay. And white people and black people.
White and black.
Yeah.
And Hispanic and Asian. I mean, it was all inclusive. We talked, or they talked, about themselves as the human race.
Yeah.
That there's one race, the human race.
And I'm going to ask you about this now. I don't know if you're interested in sharing this in public, but you mentioned to me one time when your father did a film and your house was attacked.
Yes.
And I don't think a lot of people know about that because your father is a very nondescript kind of fella. He don't talk about what he does, you know, have these big, displays of his life.
No.
Aside from his books where he very carefully determines what he can talk about and then that's it.
Yeah.
In a very Bahamian way, I
Doesn't
might
it?
add.
Yes.
But there was a time when you got to experience the fear of that kind of movement at the time. Could you tell us just a little bit about that?
Well, we were living in Pleasantville, New York. This is Westchester, outside of New York City.
Okay.
And I came home, and I realized nobody was home, but the radio was on. And I happened to hear over the radio that a cross was burned on Sidney Poitier's driveway in front of his house. And I was shocked. I really was shocked. I was
that's your father.
Exactly. But I'm in the house they're talking about.
Okay.
I didn't see a cross, but because our driveway was a mile long. So it was really kind of disturbing for me, you know, until the police came and there was, my mother was very friendly with Okay, gangster
Okay.
in New York, in
Do
Harlem.
you mind telling us which one?
Bumpy Johnson.
Okay. And your mother, I just have to say this because I am an absolute fan of 90 Notes.
Okay.
And I am a fan of Lucas,
Uh-huh.
who is from New York.
Uh-huh.
And your mother, he's the character displayed in the American Gangster, the film by
Correct. The
Denzel
guy
Washington.
who died, who
Yes,
Denzel took over for.
exactly.
Yes.
So that's Bumpy Johnson.
That's Bumpy Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just think that's amazing.
He used
that
to
your
be my
mother,
babysitter.
Bumpy Johnson was your babysitter.
Yeah, he liked my mother and her sisters.
Okay.
Because they were fresh from Alabama, very clean cut women, but also the country women. They didn't think
Southern
they were
belles.
cute. Southern belles, they're tall, they're gorgeous. My mother looked like Pocahontas, and he used to call her Alabama. And he just had a liking, and he went to my grandparents and said, I want you to know that the streets of Harlem are safe for your daughters. I have put the word out. No one will bother them.
Okay.
And my mother and Bumpy became very close. So when this cross was burned on our driveway, my mother called Bumpy.
Okay.
And then Bumpy says, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. So the next day, a guy came up and he went fishing. We had a lake around near our house. And he went fishing at the lake, never came to the house. And Bumpy called, he said, well, did you see my fellas? Did you see anybody? My mother said, no, only one guy came up and he was fishing. He said, well, they're there. You won't see them, but they're there.
They're there.
So we had protection.
Interesting. Yeah.
And it turned out to be some young kids, because this is John Birch Society.
Yeah.
So Reader's Digest is up in Pleasantville. And they were just really, pranking.
And that's the beauty of that story for me when we talked about it is just the two-ness of the Negro, as as Du Bois would talk about,
Yeah.
but in a modern sense.
Yes.
So you have the Sidney Poitier or Poitier. How you all say the name?
It's Poitier because it's
'Cause-
French. It's
yeah.
a French name.
Okay.
Like
Because that's
Cartier.
the biggest debate in the world.
Yeah, well, it's a French name.
Okay.
It's a Poitier, like Cartier.
Okay.
I-E-R is
Oh,
A.
like Cartier.
Cartier,
Poitier.
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 Pois, P-O-I,
Okay.
le petit pois,
Yeah.
Poitier.
So what credence is lent to the Bahamian Poitier?
Poitier. The Poitiers.
We just say Poitier.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. And we just get upset. When
Yeah, you do.
tell us
Yeah, what do you
Poitier.
mean by
So,
Poitier?
When I know him, he was Poitier.
The Poitier.
But I was commenting on that sort of the Sidney Poitier, the quintessential black man, actor, king of the world at the time. And then Bumpy Johnson,
Yeah.
the king of Harlem Underground, the
Yeah.
black market,
Yeah.
the biggest gangster,
Yeah.
and they protecting each other, working
Yeah,
together.
absolutely.
That kind of thing
Taking care of
is
family.
amazing to me.
Taking care of family.
Yeah.
Then my uncle was Archie Moore, who was a boxer.
Okay.
The oldest living boxer at the time, and he boxed Cassius Clay or Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
He was called the Mongoose. So, I came from a very colorful family, and one day I will write my book.
Yes.
You
need to.
I do.
Because we've lived these stories on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've lived the Malcolm X story. I know the Harlem you're talking about. I have a picture of Bob Marley on my phone and in my room that I bought from a wood painting artist on the side of the street in Harlem. This tie I bought for $5.
Yeah, it's a
See,
beautiful
people
tie.
think you just get these things.
Okay.
Fella on the side of the street in Harlem,
In
a 70
Harlem.
tie for $5.
Thank you very
That's the
much.
most beautiful tie
It
I ever
is.
seen.
It
I don't
really
know where you get
is.
it from.
It don't matter.
No matter where you get it from.
You
This
got
is a
it.
nice tie.
Yeah.
So tell us, you're here today to talk about acting classes.
Yeah, the method. The method.
Okay.
I learned the method from Lee Strasberg,
Okay.
who created the method for the United States, but it originally came from Russia. A guy named Stanislavski
Okay.
his whole purpose was, why is it an actor can have a brilliant opening night, but then is not able to repeat that performance the next night, and the next night?
Exactly.
So he started investigating, and he came up with a method that, one, is about relaxation. You have to really be relaxed in order to know your instrument, to know how your instrument is feeling.
Okay. And your instrument being
Your
the
body. Pianists play pianos.
Mhm.
Trumpeters play trumpets.
Yeah.
Actors play their own bodies.
You
They
know-
use their bodies as a tool, as an instrument.
The first time that reference was made was when you arranged for me to do the interview with Dennis Haysbert. and he talked about, having to take care of his body and his instrument and all of that. I find that so interesting because that you never think of it like that. You
Right.
never think of the body as an instrument.
It most certainly is.
You hear things like Bruce Lee has to get a license for his hands
Yeah.
because he's a dangerous weapon.
Yeah.
Again, a reference of the body as an instrument.
Right.
But go ahead, you were saying.
Well, first of all, we have to know how to utilize this as a tool.
Okay.
So there's a separation that we have to come to because what we're doing as actors is we're portraying human beings.
Okay.
But the first human being that we have to kind of dissect or get to know is ourselves.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that, you must do it in a relaxed state. And you must be able to feel all these sensations that are going on in your body that most of the time we're not aware of. Once you do that, and you can do it in a relaxed state, then it's about sense memory. Everything you've ever experienced in this body is in your muscle memory. When you fell down and hurt your knee, it's there. You can call it up if you need to. So it's about really being able to call up sense memory, physical memory, and put that into your performance. So your performance then is grounded within a human being.
Okay.
And you are using your own self, and it's like therapy without the words. You get to release all these emotions and frustrations and fears, because we put up a lot of walls socially when we go out into the world.
Yeah.
And this is breaking down all those walls so you can get to the real essence of your being. And it's a sacred thing. The stage is a very sacred place for me. So there is no kidding around. There is no somebody yelling in the back. Nobody talks but me. I'm the only person because I know what you're going through to be able to reveal yourself, to strip yourself down. And it's really, to me, it's very akin to Bahamian culture in the sense that I mean this in a dual way.
Yeah.
Bahamians have no problem telling you their business. Now you walk up to a counter, my girl is still on the phone talking about what happened last night and who did what to who.
At the government office.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just saying we need to tighten that up a little bit. But
yes, we do.
but I'm saying that we are more in touch with our feelings than a lot of other people. So this would be a really good method or system for Bahamians to learn. First of all, it puts you inside of yourself.
Yeah.
First of all, you have to recognize that there is a self to be
Inside out.
inside of.
All right. All right.
It's a very deep thing, and it's a very disciplined
As
thing.
they say in church, you better say that. That could preach.
Okay.
That could preach.
Okay,
That
so
could preach.
it's a process. It's a 4-hour class.
Yeah.
And it takes a commitment. The first
And you
hour.
teach this class?
And I teach the class. I've
Okay.
taught it at Lee Strasberg Theater Institute.
Okay.
He gave me a classroom. Never told me what to do. Just kind of said.
Teach.
And then I passed him in the hallways. He said, and the experience was, I first walked into the class and I had about 8 or 10 students.
Okay.
After the first class, I walked back into the class the second week. I had 54 students. The word had gotten out of what I was doing in my classes.
Okay.
And he passed me in the hall. He said, I hear you're a good teacher. I said, I teach what I need to learn most. He said, then you are a good teacher.
Quintessentially a teacher. You teach what you need
I
to learn.
teach what I need to
most.
learn most.
Okay.
And that was to be comfortable in my own skin, to be comfortable in my own body, to be comfortable with my own sensations, to be comfortable with my own everything, with myself.
Yeah.
So if I'm on that process, because really acting is a process, it's not an end result. It is a process, and you really get to the point where you're in love with the process because it's going to take you someplace, which you're very happy to go, but still it is a process, and you must learn to love the process, the getting there. It's got to be more about your energy than it is the destination. It's the journey.
Okay.
And I enjoy doing it. I enjoy teaching because I think it connects us back to who we are, because we have to remember where we came from, who we are, so that we know where we are and we know where we're going. And I think so many people are disconnected with themselves. They don't know that. They don't know themselves. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they can do. And I also want to point out the fact that there are so many students who are not very good scholastically, but might be great creatively.
Yeah.
We never put that into
have
the
a lot of
equation.
that.
We
We have
keep
a lot of
trying
that.
to make everybody fill these little slots, engine chief, doctor, lawyer, whatever.
Doctor, lawyer, politician, and priest.
Okay.
That's the song says.
But there's more to life than that. I
Much
mean,
more.
I'm an actor. I love acting. I'm a writer. I'm a producer. So I work best in a creative environment, not in a scholastic environment.
Yeah.
And I want to teach other people how to best bring out the artist in them.
That's it. Well, I can't say much more than that. When are the classes going to be and where?
Okay, the classes, we have auditions May 31st
Okay.
and June 1st at New Providence Community Center on Blake Road and Airport Road.
Okay.
And they're going to start, I think it's 6 o'clock, which is when the classes will be. And then on Saturday, I want to say they're at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to see what people's free times are, when they are most available. And classes then will start June 17th to June 28th.
Okay.
And it'll be 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. So let's say we do Monday through Friday, 6 to 10. Or if some people have daytimes, we can do 10 to 2 in the mornings.
And people feel free to get in touch with Citizens Review. We're on Facebook, all over the place. I mean, anywhere you could imagine. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Path, all of that. Get in touch with me to get more information as to how to reach Ms. Poitier on the classes. There we go. That's our Citizens Review information. So these classes, what should I come out of these classes with? Am I going to be an actor when I'm
You're
done?
going to be on the road to becoming an actor, or a better director, or a better writer, or a better producer, or a better lawyer, or a better secretary, or a better driver, or a better whatever, but you will be a better person.
Because I'll be in touch
with yourself and your energy. In Obeah, which I do love.
Okay. You practice Obeah?
I'm not saying anything about that. I just said I do love Obeah.
You said that, I got to ask. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
In Obeah, this is the tower of power.
Okay.
What you think, what you say, and what you do is powerful. It has energy. It goes out into the universe. If we do not have control over it, then it's like it has control over us, which I think results in a lot of violence.
Yeah. Which we see. We see.
I think that we see it because we don't have enough creative outlets for these people to come. If you're not scholastically inclined and you're a 15, 16-year-old young man.
In the Bahamas?
In the Bahamas.
You're done.
Okay?
You're done.
But yet you may be a brilliant actor.
Yeah. We just don't know. And
But there's no place for them to go to find out.
If you see the characters, I mean, there are actors in this place.
I'm telling you.
My goodness.
My dad proved that. My dad did not have but a third grade education. He taught himself to read. And a young Jewish guy, an older Jewish guy, actually helped him to learn how to read. Yeah. So, and you see where he's gone. So I'm saying to all of those out there, you can do whatever you really need to do. All you need to do is find out who you are. Yeah. Inside. There's a soul that came here for a purpose. And every human being has this soul. Every human being has this purpose for being born. Yeah. Let's find out what yours is. Yeah. And by relaxation, you really get to have that memory come to you, remembering where you come from.
You know, HBCUs need to sign you up for recruitment. Yeah.
What's that?
Because that's the best argument for going to historically black colleges, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you go learn yourself, then the world is your oyster.
That's very
As
true.
opposed to going to Harvard.
No.
And learning how to be around white people.
Yeah,
which is what they just tell you.
No. You need to learn. We need to know who we are. Yeah. And then the second thing I want to talk about was that I wanted to let you know that I'm doing the Sir Sidney Poitier School of the Arts and Sciences Summer Camp in Cat Island this summer. Okay. The last 2 weekends in July. I think that's July 14th to July 28th.
And you're talking about bringing some big names.
Well, I've got all these artist friends who want to come to Cat Island, and I'm saying I want to do this camp. They said, well, you don't have to pay us. We'll just come. So I'm trying to work out deals because I want to teach the arts, but I also want to teach marine biology. I want them to know about the mangroves, how important it is, the preservation of the creeks, so that they are now empowered with taking care of their environment, these islands that we live on.
Yeah, exactly.
So without that information and without that exposure, not everybody's going to be able to get off of Cat Island to get this. But Cat Island is really, we're on the third largest barrier reef in the world.
Yeah.
there's your laboratory right there.
Perfect
We
place.
can do bush medicine, bush tea. We can, we grow fruit, our own fruits and vegetables.
And you're an organic farmer,
I'm an
by the
organic
way.
farmer,
Yes.
yeah, by trade. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm continuing my grandparents' trade.
Yeah.
So it's really about finding out your purpose, and I want to teach that to young kids. I mean, from 3 to 18, because I think at 3 years old, you can really start giving them the tools to start thinking independently or critically thinking.
Yeah.
You know, why is this happening? How, if I do this, will I create that? So, and then, teach them things that are also very Bahamian, how to make a goatskin drum and then how to play it.
Amen.
How to scrape the saw.
How to
I mean, all
That's
these,
it.
how to
All-
plait,
you
how
have
to
it
plait, how
right
to
here.
plait, how to make
the hat
different
you
things.
have on, everything.
All these things we can make, but if you don't teach them at a young age where they're exposed to this and they find that they have a knack for this, they like this.
Yeah.
And then to also know that their ancestors were the original recyclers.
Yeah.
They used to find things on the beach. You found one flip-flop, found another one, wash it off with some bleach, and you put them on
That's
your feet
it.
and you go about your
That's
business.
it.
The buoys they made pots out of, teapots with a top.
Robin Hood flower bag shirt.
I'm just saying we are
Tires
the
for
most
sandal.
ingenious people on the planet,
Yeah.
and it's time that we celebrate that. So I'm going to have a summer camp that will ultimately grow into the Sir Sidney Poitier School of the Arts and Sciences
Amen.
in Cat Island.
And you were right. You mentioned that quickly. But if I remember the story correctly, your father was born on a boat headed to Miami to sell fruits and vegetables.
He was actually born in Miami.
Okay.
7 months, when my grandmother was 7 months pregnant.
Okay.
And he was born prematurely. And the midwife said he was going to die. So my grandfather went out and got a shoebox to bury him in.
Oh boy.
And my grandmother went to a soothsayer, gave her a couple of pence, and the woman read her tea leaves and said, "No, your son will not die. He will grow up to be a healthy man." And then she said her eyes rolled back in her head, and she said, "He will spread your name all over the world, and he will walk with kings and queens."
And so Nelson Mandela and Barack Obama, and the list goes on.
And the list goes on.
That's it.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Me too. Thank
That's
you.
it for me. All
Thank
right,
you.
we'll be back after these messages. Let's put the information up again about the classes. And please, people, contact Citizens Review. Get in touch with us if you want some information about the courses. If you want to give out your email address or some information.
PamCatIsland@yahoo.com.
That's easy
That's
to
it.
remember.
Pam
we
Cat
got to
Island
get
at
you on
Yahoo.
Gmail, man. Right?
Yeah,
Yahoo.
I know.
Nobody
I'm not
uses that.
all that IT savvy,
All
you know.
right.
Sitting in
Organic
Cat Island.
farming, I could work with
Yeah, and
that.
farming. They see, I don't get into. I can check email. That's about as much as I do.
PamCatIsland@yahoo.com. We'll be right back after these messages. Good evening. Welcome back to Citizens Review. I have here with me Erin Green, who's a human rights activist in the Bahamas, and she's come to talk about constitutional reform. Now, it's an interesting topic to me because I, of course, hold a position that is a bunch of waste of time. I think Perry Christie has shown us that the idea of constitutional reform to him is a joke. He appointed Paul Adderley last time around to do a constitutional commission. And as with all of Mr. Christie's commissions, it generated a wonderful report that we did absolutely nothing about. Perhaps that report is informing the movement of this new commission, who will generate a wonderful report, and I dare say never have a referendum. But Erin Green is here to talk about some of the issues surrounding the referendum and what is being proposed and how the process is being handled. Ms. Green, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for coming on Citizens Review again.
I made it through the flood.
Yes, boy. I'm going to talk about that in our next segment, show pictures and try to somehow capture what people are going through, because this is a difficult time to have your house flooded and your car ain't working.
No, absolutely.
This is but I don't even know how to explain the kind of frustration people must have felt waking up in the morning and taking your foot, putting it out your bed into water.
Absolutely.
Or coming out and your car is submerged you know?
Absolutely. Even if you were prepared for it, you're never truly prepared for an
Yeah.
experience like that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But constitutional reform.
Well, let's jump right in on the point that you made. I think
Yeah.
actually in the 2002, 2003 constitutional reform, the process was never completed.
Okay.
And although the committee released the initial report, they were supposed to release that report to the public, hold another round of consultation based on the information in the report, and then the committee was to produce another and perhaps final report
Yeah.
to then initialize the actual referendum exercise. And so that never happened.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that's most important to remember or to know about this type of exercise is it actually takes a long time. And I share your concern.
Yeah.
I don't think it's reasonable to say that we're going to have another referendum before the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think that an exercise like this requires at least 3 years preparation. A government that initiates an exercise like this should really give its citizens about 3 years. And then considering knowing how informed or not informed Bahamians are about their own constitution and the system of law in the Bahamas, we absolutely need a minimum of 3 years to have this sort of discussion.
Yeah.
The first thing is that the language is problematic. For somebody who like to talk as much as I do, the language is problematic. And the preparation for my own contribution to the reform took many, many hours and lots of rowing and fussing between myself and my mother. Well, I'm never wrong and she's never wrong.
Okay.
So we'd be there fighting. But the language is so hard to deal with. And it's not something that an individual can do by themselves. You
Yeah.
need to be in a group of people, and then you need to be with people that have a sense of the law already, or possibly are lawyers. But see, not all lawyers are trained in constitutional law.
Exactly.
Right,
And that's
and
an
so-
assumption some people make. You're a lawyer, so you know what you're doing.
Right, and so we even need to give the members of our legal community time to prepare themselves for the discussion, and then time to prepare themselves to help other Bahamians enter the discussion. And something like that takes about at least 3 years.
And the funny thing is, I don't see on that commission any of the Bahamians that are lawyers that we consider constitutional experts. I don't see, like, for example, the Maurice Glidden, I don't
Right.
see them. So I get concerned when I see things like that.
Absolutely, but after reading and meeting the people on the committee, I think that we're in good hands.
Okay.
I think that we're in good hands. It's important to recognize that those members of the committee may not be as well informed on the subject matter that you're trying to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And so when I made my contribution, I didn't want to come preaching. I didn't want to bring draft legislation and say, here, you all enact this as it
Yeah,
is.
do
But
this.
I wanted to introduce subjects that I felt, as a human rights activist in the Bahamas, that the committee should be clued in, should begin educating themselves, learning about, and informing themselves and other committee members about. For instance, I brought up the issue of food security. It's a pretty new issue on this side of the world in terms of human rights issues.
Yeah.
But it's perhaps the paramount, the most important issue
Oh, yeah.
that we could be talking
Yeah,
about.
people needing access at some point to water and food.
Right.
That being an essential right, inalienable.
Right. I have the right to withdraw from the traditional workforce. I have the right to withdraw from traditional political or religious communities. I have the right to feed myself.
Yeah.
I have the right to boycott food stores if I want to.
Yeah.
And so as a citizen, if I don't own my own land, which I should have permission to grow enough food for my family on, I should be given access to community land.
That's
Not
right.
for commercial propagation of crops,
But
but
to
for
feed yourself.
personal and community projects.
Yeah.
Right? And this is paramount. And then when we think of the advancement in food technology, I as a citizen have a right to know what is in my food. How was my food grown, or we see now designed and constructed in a
Yes.
lab? I have a
Yes.
right to know what it is, and I have a right to petition for it to not come in the country,
Yeah.
right? And so all of these issues are a part of this new discussion of food security.
Yeah.
And it's troubling. On May 25th, there's an Occupy Monsanto movement. And communities
Because
around the world.
Monsanto is a problem.
Let's talk about what a
Monsanto-
problem is.
Oh my
Monsanto,
God.
one of the first products Monsanto ever made was Agent Orange, right? I
Yeah.
think they made napalm.
Yeah.
And, you know, then they went into herbicides and pesticides,
Yeah.
killing plants and
Yeah.
animals.
Yeah.
And now we have so easily accepted them as the producers of our food.
Yeah. And so for people who don't know, Monsanto is a corporation in the United States. And so that you understand the depth of the sickness of Monsanto, they own the biology of some wheat. And if that wheat product that they own happens to catch wind and land in your farm and grow, because they've engineered a seed that works and it builds a particular type of wheat that resists diseases and all of that stuff, but will kill you. If that lands in your farm, because the wheat farms are near to each other, and it grows, they can sue you for using their particular seed. And they have put hundreds of farmers out of business by just the wind blowing the seed into your farm.
And more intentional than that is a particular instance where a farmer had a public road running through his fields.
Yeah.
And the drivers that were delivering Monsanto product were directed to follow that route, increasing the chance
That
of cross-pollination.
Cross-pollination.
But an even more startling fact,
Isn't that nonsense? America and its foolishness. But go ahead.
an even more startling fact is that the United States government and Monsanto own the Terminator gene. The Terminator gene, when genetically modified and becomes a part of whatever seed they're selling, it defies all indigenous cultural practices in terms of food. When you get the seed and you plant it, say it's corn, you plant your harvest, indigenous cultures will harvest, they will save half for replanting, and they will eat the other half. Well, if your corn was grown from seed that has the Terminator gene, it will only grow once. And so you can no longer save half because it will not propagate. It will not germinate, it will not grow into new corn. So you were forced
So it's
to buy
capitalism
more seed.
at its height. So you have to keep buying seeds.
Right, and that's why it becomes an important constitutional issue,
Yeah.
because only the Constitution can protect us from
Yeah,
legal
that's an antitrust issue.
practices. Like, there's all kind of trust issues. with
Yeah,
that.
trust. All kind of trust.
And so
boy.
this is
But do you know what bothers me though? When you have conversations like this, because some Bahamians are of the opinion that kind of stuff don't affect us.
right.
When in fact we import 98%. So all we eating is Monsanto nonsense
Right.
all day, every day.
And when you look at the statistics coming out of the U.S. recently on how much crop is GMO, let's be conservative and say that 50% of what's being produced, soy, corn, canola, we call it rapeseed,
Yeah.
these are GMO products.
GMO. Explain.
Genetically modified organisms.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure everybody knows what's going on.
And so, you know, for a few years now, we've been seeing a proliferation of for export only products on our shelves.
Yep. Meat products in particular for export only.
Why would they tell Americans this is not for you to buy? We have to give this to other people.
You can't eat this because the FDA don't approve this for you. But
Maybe the other people
Yeah,
who don't
they'll
have an
buy it.
FDA, they'll buy it,
yeah.
right? And so it's very important for us to start thinking about this dynamic. How do we protect ourselves from unsavory capitalist practitioners who don't care about morality?
No.
They don't care about the public good.
No.
They don't care about your babies.
Yeah.
All they care about is the bottom line.
That's it.
And that's not far-fetched. We see it all the time in television, on movies.
Yeah.
This has become the American way.
Yeah.
You know, Michael Douglas is famous, I think that line is, greed is good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In Wall Street.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so food security is a human right, and economic rights as human rights.
Yeah.
Also another issue that I brought to the table and asked the Commission to address, to seriously think about when they are crafting this new referendum. But another thing that I felt it very important to talk to them about was the entire process, how the creation of the process is important for the result,
Okay.
right? That we should not allow Bahamians to come into this exercise under the wrong impression. Right now, a lot of Bahamians, when ZNS ran the story about my contribution, the immediate response was, oh, see, I told you, gay people are asking for gay marriage.
Yeah.
She asked for gay marriage. And that's not exactly what happened.
Okay.
What happened was that in the question and answer section, Mr. McQueenie asked me if I was aware that a number of individuals and groups have already petitioned for a provision in the Constitution to ban gay marriage.
Yeah.
And that's how the issue was
So you
brought up.
didn't actually present on gay marriage?
Right.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right.
I presented on issues surrounding Chapter 3,
Okay.
the individual rights and freedom, the rights and freedoms of the individual,
Okay.
that incidentally touched on marriage, and people would presume I meant gay marriage.
Yeah.
But that's not really what I came to talk about.
Yeah.
And so, after the news report, everybody thought, yeah, the gay people are at it.
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah,
what they
yeah,
want.
It's on.
And a number of people were saying, look, see, they have a strong lobby, they have an agenda, they're powerful.
Yeah.
And what I pointed out to the commission, I want to point out to the Bahamian public is that we have to clearly identify and acknowledge where we are in this process. And I want
As Bahamians.
as citizens,
Yes.
right? I want to say that any attempt at a referendum, any attempt to change our laws, in this particular instance, I don't think came from any internal agitation.
Okay. So this move is not indigenous, you don't
Right.
think?
This is not about the voice of the Bahamian people crying out for change.
Yeah.
This is really about the government being forced to bring our laws in line with the international communities that we want to be a part of.
So in essence, you're saying that things like the value-added tax,
Absolutely.
or the pressure for gay marriage, that's not even coming from Bahamians. That's coming from external forces.
Right, not from any organized
Group. Yeah.
or articulation.
Yeah.
This is really an external force being put upon us.
Yeah.
Our government wants to join WTO.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think back on it, you've heard Bahamian pastors say ban gay marriage, but there's been no pushback to say, okay, this is the gay rights movement, this is what we want, this is how we see it. I haven't seen it. I
No.
haven't seen it being articulated at all.
In fact, when Rainbow Alliance of the Bahamas was operating, we determined that really what we need to do initially is to create a platform for human rights.
Yeah.
We need to ensure that gay people are safe
Yeah.
first. We acknowledge that there are other instruments in the law that the LGBT community can use to ensure their rights.
Yeah.
Right? In terms of inheritance, I can leave a will. And in fact, that shows the sign of a mature citizen that is prepared to take care of its
take care of their
affairs
affairs.
and not leave it in the hands of the state.
And leave power of attorney in case of medical issues. Stuff
Exactly.
Like that. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that certainly we have to address the issue, but initially we want to deal with some fundamental issues.
Yeah. Like
Right.
food security.
And then within the organization itself, building a better relationship with the police force,
Okay.
building a better relationship with the media, right? Making connections with agencies that provide service for gay people.
Okay.
Building relationships with churches, because although the common perception of the discussion is that gays are not Christian, the vast majority of the LGBT community in the Bahamas are Christian folk.
And heavily so.
And they love their church community. And in many instances, it would be worse for them to be cut off from their church community than to be cut off from their gay community. Right? And so we realized that while a sizable portion of the community really wanted us to jump on the gay marriage issue,
Yeah.
to be responsible to the community itself, we had some fundamental things we needed to go
deal with.
after.
So there's even a decided position that that's not a priority at this time.
Absolutely.
But there is a perception that there's this fight.
And
there's
an
this
agenda,
lobby.
and a well-fueled, a well-oiled agenda.
Agenda
And they're coming to get us.
Yeah. And it ain't really
No, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
And what we
Okay.
may find is that the pressure is stronger on the outside for us to create an environment in which international communities and companies can send their staff to our employees to our country, and they will be safe and their rights will be protected. Right? That if there is a dispute, one of the examples we've been talking about recently, imagine that some international bank sends down the CFO and he's a gay man and his husband comes with him because they're from Canada and their marriage is legally recognized, and there's a dispute in the house one day and they call the police, and the police look at them and say, "My man,
Two man and yeah.
this ain't domestic violence. If y'all is beating each other up, we could deal with that." That's not acceptable in the international community.
Interesting. Okay.
And our government is aware of that. And the people that work in the financial services industry is aware of that. We have the 4th largest financial center in the world.
Yeah.
Of course, our government wants to join WTO.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Without a doubt.
But why Bahamian rights always gotta come from what other people saying? Why reform in this country always gotta come from other people and what they want?
Because to speak
Plainly.
colloquially,
Oh.
we're still on a plantation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to speak in more academic terms, we're a small island developing state. And this is what I call a small island developing state syndrome,
Yeah.
right? We are importing 98% of everything we use. We rely on other people.
Yeah.
So our decisions made locally are based upon how they affect our partners internationally.
Because we need them to eat. And
Absolutely.
they gain us garbage to eat, but we need them.
Right, and then think
Right.
about it. Tourism and financial services are 2 top industries.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Other people and other people.
Yeah.
Plantation tourism and plantation finance.
Well, not only do we rely on them to come and do it, but they own it too.
As well.
So we're not even the actors that rely on them. We're the children of the actors, or the slaves
Right.
of the actors.
I wish some important pundit had asked me asked me my opinion about the gambling referendum.
What is your opinion?
Well, here's my thing. If it were me, I would have banned Bahamians from the casinos also. If 90% of what's made in the casinos being taken out of the country,
Yeah.
I would ban you also. No, do not go and spend your money in there. We will not see any of it.
Okay.
Because the house always wins. Your money is going to the plantation owner. It's not coming back on the plantation.
Yeah.
So stay out of the casinos.
Okay.
If the question was put forth, I would have voted no. As long as the casinos are allowed to remove that percentage, that high percentage
Of money out of the country.
in the country, and as long as our government refuses to demand the resources necessary for taxation enforcement, for the collection of
Because
taxation.
we know they don't collect them taxes. We know they don't collect it. They hardly is collect the PEC.
And so that would have been
Yeah.
my decision,
Yeah.
right? And so it's very important for Bahamians to, at the very least, know where the discussion is located before they make this decision.
Yeah.
When I say to Bahamians, before you vote no to gay rights,
Yeah.
think about how it will affect the country as a whole.
Yeah.
Are you prepared to plant wheat in your backyard? Are you prepared to plant corn and to mill it yourself?
Yeah.
And to make fresh bread every day? Are you prepared to do the things that are required of an autonomous and truly independent sovereign nation?
Yeah.
And until, well, first of all, we cannot have this exercise until Bahamians acknowledge this dynamic of the discussion.
Yeah.
And until we are prepared to do that, then we have to seriously think about the decisions that we make. I mean, it's not just, like, I'm not coming on as a gay rights activist to say, see, if y'all don't vote for gay rights, you could get your business fixed. What I'm saying, though, is if we break off our ties to the international community until we are actually prepared, then we're going to do a disservice to Bahamians, right? If we're saying we need that international community to fly the medication into the southern islands, then that's what we need. And so we have to make the decision with that in mind. How does this really and truly affect every Bahamian. Where is the discussion located? This gambling referendum, was this really about Bahamians and morality? Or was this about the fact that the web shops essentially operate outside of the central banking system?
Yeah.
There are only 4 countries left in the world without a central banking system. North Korea, Iran, Cuba, and I think Syria. But since the bombing hasn't stopped in over, about 6 months, we don't know for certain what's going on.
What is happening?
So imagine that you have a number of rogue businessmen
Doesn't make.
making millions, if not billions of dollars, all outside of the central banking system. There's no way they're going to let us join
The
WTO.
OECD ain't having it.
And WTO not going to have us unless we get that sorted out.
Yeah.
And I think that is really what initiated the referendum on gambling. Not the internal agitation, the internal discussion, but the external requirements for participation.
Okay. Any last words? Anything else that we need to know about the constitutional reformation process? Although, like I said, I doubt that there'll ever be a referendum. I don't think a PLP government with the poor and ridiculous state that it's in is prepared to lose another referendum. Because I think Bahamians are prepared to vote against it no matter what it is.
Well, I don't think that the current PLP administration or the prior F&M administration really took into account what is required of this process.
Yeah.
I think their intentions are good, but I think that they've not been exposed sufficiently.
Yeah.
They've not been educating themselves or the wider community effectively or sufficiently to engage this process. And I think that if we think we can pull it off in less than 12 months, then certainly they're not prepared for the task at hand.
Yeah, they don't get it.
But this is a good place to start. And it just means that we as citizens need to record this moment in time and then say to the government, when we're really prepared, we can say, hey, remember in 2013? We've been working since then. Here is the documentation. Here are the town meetings. We have been working on it and we're ready for it now.
Okay.
The power is in our hands if we understand it. So I want to say to Bahamians, we as citizens have an obligation to educate ourselves. 2013, you can go into the web shop and access your constitution online now. So even if you don't have internet at home, you could get to it. And I bet you the web shop is the best place for that discussion. Bahamians will feel comfortable, the Bahamians in there will feel comfortable enough to join into it. That'd be a great place for the discussion. But the onus is not on the government. The onus is on us to educate ourselves. The onus is on us to learn the laws and the rules that we are governed by and that dictate our relationship with each other as citizens.
Yeah.
Let us not wait for the government, because in fact, it is not their obligation to educate us until we tell them it is their obligation to educate us. We have to demand it.
Yeah. Amen to that. All right. Thank you very much, Aaron Green. Anytime you're ready, come back. Give us some more information about our rights. And thank you for talking about food security. It's a big issue for me because I think the quality of food that we allow to be imported in the country is just ridiculous. Anything that says for export only, red flag, especially from these American companies.
Absolutely. And then on top of it, when you find out that we are growing some of the world's best produce, I'll always recall in 2008, in a copy of Martha Stewart's magazine, she hailed Teresa Kemp at Holy Farms as the best grower of tomatoes in the world. And we know that some of our international chefs that have restaurants in our hotels, they call her name because they want her produce because they know that she can produce the best. And if she can do it, then we can all do it.
Yeah, and we can have it to eat. All right, we'll be back after these messages.